Okay, hello back everyone to very simple readings. And we are just going to read from David Lewis, the, I believe, relatively famous article, Causation. David Lewis is a very important philosopher, and this seems to be one of the more important texts. So without further ado, let's just go in there. Okay, so he starts with Hume. That's interesting. So he defines causation twice. We may define a cause to be an object followed by another. Okay, I think here in the first line the marking does not really work because of the first starting letter, so I leave that out. So may be defined as a cause, or we may define a cause to be an object followed by another, and where all the objects similar to the first are followed by objects similar to the second. Okay, so they say Hume writes very simple, so I already feel a bit challenged here. So there's an object that is followed by another object, and where all these objects similar to the first are followed by objects similar. I don't know what that means. What does Hume mean here? Do we have an example? So if a billiard ball pushes another billiard ball, that's where I guess the second billiard ball follows the first one. I don't know. Or in other words, okay, glad that we have here another definition, where if the first object had not been, the second had never existed. Okay, so I guess if we have the movement of a billiard ball, then it wouldn't exist if there hadn't been like the white ball, let's say, pushed the black 8. So descendants of Hume's first definition still dominate the philosophy of causation. So I don't know why. It seems there are two definitions here, but he says, in other words. So I'm not entirely sure why they should be different. But here he seems to suggest they are different. A causal succession is supposed to be a succession that instantiates a regularity. So causality is an example of regularity. To be sure, there have been improvements. Okay, improvements? Okay, what then is bad? What was bad about? Nowadays, we try to distinguish the regularities that count the causal laws from mere accidental regularities of succession. Okay, some examples would help here, but we just taken the definitions. And by the way, I'm not an analytic philosopher, so for me this is entirely new, right? So we subsume causes and effects under regularities. Causes and effects are regularities. It happens always in the same way, I guess. By means of description, they satisfy, not by overall similarity. So it seems it's a description, not really a well-defined object, I believe. And we allow a cause to be only one indispensable part, not the whole, of the total situation that is followed by the effect in accordance with the law. Okay, this here seems to be important. So cause and effect are separated from each other. In present day regularities and analyses, a cause is defined roughly as any member of any minimal set of actual conditions that are jointly sufficient, given the laws for the existence of the fact. So I guess there can be many things that cause something to appear. I'm not entirely sure. Here it says a minimal set of actual conditions that are jointly sufficient. So when we bring them together, they are sufficient for something to occur. More precisely, okay, now we finally have an example. Let's see, be the proposition that, maybe we can make this bigger here. This is better, right? Yeah, this is bigger. More precisely, let C be the proposition that C exists or occurs, and let E be the proposition that E exists. Okay. Let C be the proposition. Okay, C is a proposition for the fact that C exists, and E is the proposition for the fact that E exists. Then C causes E according to a regularity analysis if C and E are true. Yeah, so C and E have to be true because otherwise we couldn't say that C causes E. And 2, for some non-empty set, I don't know what that is, delta, is that delta? Of true law propositions and some set of, let's call it F, of true propositions of particular fact, L and F jointly imply that if C, then E. Although L and F jointly do not imply, E and F alone does not imply C implies E. Okay, I have some troubles here. Let's look in the footnotes if he helps us anywhere here. I identify a proposition as is becoming usual with a set of possible worlds where it is true. It is not a linguistic entity, okay? Truth functional operations on propositions are the appropriate Boolean operations on sets of words. Logical relations among propositions are relations of inclusion, overlap, etc. among sets. A sentence of the language expresses a proposition if the sentence and the proposition are true at exactly the same worlds. No ordinary language will provide sentences to express all propositions. There will be not enough sentences to go around. Okay, some definitions here of what he understands to be a proposition, just to make sure. What I find interesting is that people usually say that these philosophers are very clear, but for me as an outsider, it's really hard to penetrate that particular logical language. So therefore, let's try it again. So, okay, C and E are propositions for small case C and E. So now we wonder, okay, how can C cause E to occur? And according to the typical regularity analysis, not one that has been proposed by an actual author in just this form, so far as I know. Okay, I don't know what it means here. So we have a regularity analysis if and only if C and E are true. So that's clear. C and E must be there, right? They cannot be false. And second, we have a set of true law propositions and some set of true propositions of particular fact. L and F jointly imply that if C, then E. Although L and F jointly do not apply, E and F alone does not imply C causes E. Okay, because when I say if C, then E, and I just take this alone, then it does not mean that E exists, right? It's an if conditional. And however, if we take them both together, no, if we take F alone, okay, F alone, that would stand for a true proposition of I cannot follow this. I'm sorry. I wonder why is that important right now. Can we look a little bit further and then come back to this paragraph? So I really wonder what this paragraph here means. I wonder if I can just mark it in the sense that I don't know what that means. Okay, so much needs doing and much has been done. To turn definitions like this one into defensible analyses, many problems have been overcome. Others remain. In particular, regularity analysis tend to confuse causation itself with various other causal relations. If C belongs to a minimal set of conditions jointly sufficient for E, given the laws, then C may well be a genuine cause of E. Okay, and this is the point where I already could not follow anymore. So please, if somebody watches this, explain this to me. Please explain this to me. I will look now into resources of Lewis. Thank you very much for watching. And assisted reading, this is how I call this channel. Well, I hope you can assist me too.